Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this session of the Data Doctor. Today, we're going to talk about sets and set actions. I've seen a lot of questions recently in the forum about sets and how to use sets, and so many so that I actually asked one of the other ambassadors, I asked him how often he uses sets, and he told me, he says he never uses them. And I was kind of shocked, and I said, why was that? And he said, I really don't understand them. So I thought this might be a real good topic today. We're going to take a look at sets. First, we're going to discuss what a set is versus what a group is, because there seems to be some confusion there and just how to use those. Then we're going to talk about how we create sets. And finally, we're going to take a look at some use cases. Well, let's dive into this. First, I want to take a look at what a group is. And creating groups and sets are very similar and they're very easy to do, but sometimes there's a confusion involved. I'm going to show you how we create a group. I'm going to go up here to subcategory, create group. And you can see there's create set right next to it, create group. So it's kind of the same process. We create a group. All we have to do is highlight the items that we want to include in the group and hit group. And then we can change the name of this to like group 1, for example. And then we can group other items together. Well, I've done that up here with a group on the subset. And it looks something like this. It can be used to create hierarchies. I've got 3 different groups, letters A through C, E through F, and labels. Now, groups, you can have as many of them as you want based on a single dimension. They're static in the sense that once you create them, to change that group, I actually have to come back in and I have to ungroup the group and then recreate a group. And we'll just call this A. And you can see how the group has changed and these items are not in a group. Well, that's how you create a group. Well, how's a set different from that? Well, when you create a set, you're still working with a single dimension, but you're creating 2 segments. There's those elements that are, those records that are in the set and those that are out of the set. And sets are very useful. I'm going to just show you how you create that set here, one of the ways, and we're going to look at several different ways. We'll go back to create right where we were before, create set. And the easiest way, and the way I created this set, was to go to the setup, the general tab, and we can just select the items that we want to include in the set. Just that simple. I did that here. And you can see the items that are in the set, and then I placed this set on color, and we're coloring what's in the set in blue and what's out of the set in gray. Now, it's important to understand this is different from a filter. A filter takes the data that's in your data table and it reduces the amount of data. It eliminates some of the data. You filter data out of that table. Sets don't eliminate any data from your data table. It just redefines it into 2 groups. All the data is still there. And you can use that data to do comparisons. You can compare what's in the set to what's out of the set. Where if you use a filter, once you've filtered something out, the data is no longer available. A second way to create a subset is just to do it visually. I can look at this chart, and I can come in and I can, let's just pick a couple items. I'm just holding down the control key. And we're going to pick a couple of categories here. And you see this right here. That will create a set. You can open it up, create set. And if we look at the set, we created a set of accessories, binders, and envelopes for the 4 regions. And that set's available for us to use. Yeah. If we look at this data, and I've looked at if we look at this data, we can see the data that's in the set, and we can take a look at the data that's out of the set. And the set that we've selected here is a set that I used visually to create a set. Sorry, let me just open it up so we can look at it. It's that set that we created, looking at some regions and some of the subcategories. We can look at it in an absolute value. We can look at the metric itself and we can see what's in the set and what's out of the set. Or we have the option of using any of the table calculations that are available to us. And I just did a quick table calculation on this. And clear the table calculation to show you what I did again. I'm going to take a look at the quick table calculation. I want to take a look at the percent of total. And we want to take a look at that across the table. And now we can see what's in the set versus what's out of the set as a percent of the total value. We can also come in and we can filter this data, and we can filter what's in the set or what's in the viz and what's not in the viz. But I want to talk to you a bit about filtering and when filters are applied and when sets are created, because this is really important and it's one of the very confusing points that users have when using sets. Sets are created in step 4 of the order of operation. Now, we've talked before about the order of operation. That's a sequence that Tableau goes through as it creates each of your worksheets. Okay, step 4 is right here. It's also where fixed LOD and top-end calculations are executed. Now, in step 3 of the order of operation is where context filters are applied. So if we want to apply a filter to the set and we want it to apply to the set and make the set different, we have to put that dimension in context so that it's filtered before the set is created. It's just like we do with fixed LODs, no different whatsoever. Also, if we don't want the filter to apply to the set, we use it as a dimension filter or a blue filter, filtered after the set is created. Now that's a lot of words, but let's see what it looks like in practice, okay? I've just created a set on states, okay? And to create the set, I used a different way of creating a set. It's an entirely different way altogether. We looked at creating a set of the top end states. Now, before when we created a set, we came in, we used the general tab. Now I've gone over to the third tab over, it's the top tab. And I want to create a set that includes the top 10 states by sales. That's all there is to it. It's pretty easy to use. So we combined here the idea of a set and top end. And these are the 10 states in 2018 that represented the top 10 states in sales. Notice also I've got year of order date in context. Now, because it's in context, it's going to be applied here before that set is calculated. And when I change from 2018 to 2019 or 2020, you can see that the states that are identified, the top 10 states, change by year. If I didn't want that to happen, if I said, no, I want to apply this filter after the set is determined, I would remove this from context. So now it's being applied as a dimension filter down here. It's a blue pill. It's applied as a dimension filter after the set is created. And changing the year no longer affects the set value. So you have to be thinking about where you're applying a filter in relationship to when the set is actually created. Well, let's take a look at a couple of other ways of creating sets. We can create a set based on a condition. And the first condition we're going to look at is I want to create a set where any of the subtotals or subcategory totals is greater than $15,000. Well, let's take a look at how that's done. When we create the set, now we're going to the condition tab. That's between general and top. This is the third option here, condition. And I wrote a formula. Now this formula block here is just like an LOD, okay, in the sense that it has any dimension that's in here or any measure that's in here has to be aggregated. So we're looking at the sum of sales at the subcategory level greater than 15,000. Now you'll notice that this is Boolean. It returns a true or a false. And that's the other thing that has to be done in this formula block. It has to return either a true or a false. If it returns a true for the subcategory, the category is in the set. If it returns a false, then it's not in the set, it's out of the set. And we can take a look here. I've got in and out, and I've also got this year of order date. I've still got this back in here, and I've got it in context. So as I change the year, we're going to see this in category and out of category change. So when we change to 2018, and you can see the values are changing, 416 and 67, and so on. Sometimes it's easier to look at this, not in a text table chart, but we can look at it at a chart like this. It's the same data, okay? And as we change this back and forth, you can see that set changing. The in set and the out of set are no longer the same. I like to put them together on a dashboard so we can dynamically see what's going on. Here's 2019. And we can see when we change to 2018, 2020, the values are changing. 2021, the values are changing. 2018, the values are changing. Okay. Well, let's take a look at another way of creating a set. And in this case, we're going to take a look at a parameter driving the set or creating the set. Well, first I got to create a parameter. And I created this parameter on region. All it is we take a look at the 4 regions. And I also included an all in there. And then we're going to take a look at this set that's been created. And we're going back to that condition tab again. And I'm going to create a condition. And if the region equals the region that's in the parameter, I want this to return a true. But you see, I have to aggregate that region. And just like in LOD, you can't use ATTR. ATTR is used when the value of the region can have multiple different values. And that's not what we're looking for here. We're looking for either a minimum or a maximum. And since minimum and maximum are going to be the same on a parameter, because there's only one value, I chose minimum. You could just as easily use maximum. Or if the parameter equals all, return a true, and that would be in the set. Okay, so we can see what's in the set and we can see what's out of the set. And now I've got a parameter based on region. And as I change that parameter, you can see now we're going to look at the South region, and this is what's in the South, and this is what's in the West. Okay. I can also put that in a map and look at the parameter. And I'm doing this just so we can look at it on a dashboard and we can see the change and see what's occurring in the change. So we can put this together in something that looks like this. And now this is all based on region. And you can see when I take the West region, we've got 140,000 versus 330,000. And in the East region, we're looking at 156 versus 340, and I'm included an all option. And we can look at everything that's in the set because all regions are in the set. Okay, we've looked at several different ways of creating a set. We looked at using a parameter. We looked at using a condition. We looked at manually creating them. It kind of begs the question, is it possible to use this thing where we have a condition and we also use a parameter? And the answer is yes. It's a little more difficult than you might think. And that's because of we're back at that order of operation thing again. We need each of the parameters that we're going to look at to work independently. And we need to look at the inset for each of those parameters. Now, I'm going to take a look at East. I got to reset that parameter. Here's what I've done. I've done this in text form. We're also going to look at it in a couple of different forms. And I've created the 2 parameters. They're the same parameters we just looked at. I've got a parameter on region that's driven, or a set that's driven on this region parameter, and you're either in the set or out of the set. and I've got it set at region now, so east is in the region. And then I've also got a second parameter or a second set that's driven on the value of the subset being greater than 15,000. And once again, you're either in that set or out of that set. So for example, this value here is in both sets. It's in the region set, and it's also in the set where all the subsets are total greater than 15,000. Where this value is in the region, but its value is less than 15,000. Okay, I've created a map, and I've just put a pie chart on this map that does this is a proportional a proportion of the pie chart of what's in the pie, what's in the two sets versus what's out of the two sets. And if we bring this together, it would look something like this. Now I've got values here that are both in our subcategory set and in our region set. And we can look at the region and we can take a look at the percent of total. And as we change the region, we can see that now we're looking at the southern region, we're looking at the central region. We can see the values in our chart change. And once again, we're looking at what's in the set here in the central region. The total is $103,000, $103,000. These are the individual subsets. And these are the total that's in the set. Now, I want to look at one other option. And the option that I want to look at here, and I'm going to show you where we're going with this. I want to take a look at using a set action to change the value that's in the set. And what I'd like to do is visually be able to change the set from the surface of, from the visual that we see in this dashboard. So I'd like to be able to change the set from central to south to west, or because we're working with sets and sets can have multiple values, we could look at the combination of east and south, or east and west, for example. Now to do this, first we're going to create each one of these charts individually. This first chart is nothing more than using I'm going to create a set, and that set is manually selected. It's just right off the select, where we're selecting from a list, and I've just selected two values here. We're going to change them anyway, but right now I've got it set at east and west. And you can see those two values are highlighted. I put the set on color, and these values are highlighted. And I've got the grand total here, and I've sorted by the grand total. Okay, that's one of our charts. I'd also like to see the states that make up those what's in the inset. So I placed the set on filter, and I'm filtering for the states or the regions that are in the set. And then I've just created a pie chart here, and the pie chart is based on profitability. Once again, comparing the subcategories that are in the set versus those that are out of the set. We're almost there. Okay, we've got the three charts that we just created. We want to take a look at the insets for each one. And I need to add an action. And I only want to look at this sheet. And the action we're going to create is a set action. Okay, they're really quite easy to use, and after you've used a couple of them, they're really easy to understand. Also, we've got a source sheet. Which one of the sheets in this visual are we going to use to change the set? And I'm going to take it off of this first chart that we created, and that's the set action select by category. And we're going to do it when I select it, when I click a value. And then the question is, what set are you going to change? And if I open this up, you can see in this workbook, first, let's go back here. First, it identifies the source. If you have multiple sources, you can have sets coming from different sources. But I've only got one source here, and you can see all the sets that I created making up this workbook. Well, the one we're going to change is this one. And that's the same set that I've got on all three of these charts. And when I select the value, we're going to assign the value to the set. So only the values I select are going to be in the set. And when I release or clear the selection, all values are going to be in the set. You could keep them or you could remove all values from the set. But we're going to keep all the values in the set. And when I do that, now when I click on a region, that region changes the set, and south becomes the in value in all sets in all of the three charts. And like I said before, because sets can have multiple values, unlike parameters, we can use sets to look at multiple regions at the same time, and we can do our proportional brushing and also a comparison of profit across all three regions or whatever is in the set. Well, that's what I wanted to talk to you about this morning. Sets are a very versatile tool. It's a very versatile tool inside Tableau. And I was kind of surprised when, one of the other ambassadors says he didn't use them at all. I use them a lot. Think about this. Whenever you're asking yourself a question, you say, I want to compare these two things. I want to compare what's in this group to what's out of this group. Start thinking about sets as opposed to filters. Sets are very easy to use. Setting them up, they can be done manually, it can be done on a condition, it can be done based on a parameter. And using set actions, you can change them dynamically and you can give your user a way to interact with your dashboard. Thank you very much. That's what I wanted to talk to you about this morning. I have written a blog piece out on my blog at jimdehner.com on sets. It's already sitting out there, and you can find it out there. And I've also got the workbook that we used today out on my profile. So please feel free to go out there, download that information. We'd like for you to use it. Thank you very much, and we'll see you again next month.